The Washington Capitals playing the second half of a back-to-back against a rested Ottawa Senators team. And yeah, you could really tell which team had played the night before and traveled overnight during the second half of this hockey game. It was a tale of two games in one for the Washington Capitals as they first jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first period before being outscored 4-1 over the final half of this game. Caps lose 4-3 in regulation against the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa. Yeah, tough to lose that one in regulation after the way it started. Let's get into it, babes. First period, Brady Tkachuk of Team USA for the Olympics, obviously having just heard that Tom Wilson had been named to Team Canada for the Olympics. Brady Tkachuk is trying to fuck with Tom Wilson off of the opening face-off. And that, of course, backfires as it so often does for folks who try to fuck with Tom Wilson. Brady Tkachuk pretty much immediately getting a taste of exactly how that would go for him at the Olympics as Tom Wilson scores the game's opening goal. Heavy pressure put on by the Caps at the Senators' end of the rink, and the end result is Tom Wilson's 22nd goal of this season already as he pops it into the wide open cage. Assists on that goal to Justin Sourdif and Jakob Chychrun. And yeah, this goal was really, like I said, just the result of some great heavy pressure, that heavy forecheck that the Washington Capitals possessed. They kept several pucks alive during this sequence down there in the offensive zone and just pressure, right? And like I said, the end result is a goal for Tom Wilson, his 22nd of the season. Tom Wilson, folks, is on pace for nearly 45 goals this season. No wonder he was named to Team Canada. Caps up 1-0. And by the way, the shots on goal are 9-2 in favor of the Caps at this point in the hockey game, even though the Ottawa Senators have had the only power play so far. So like I said, it was truly a really great start and really a really great first half of this hockey game for the Washington Capitals. A valiant effort on, like I said, the second half of a back-to-back with travel overnight on New Year's Eve, cross-border travel from the United States into Canada. They put up a good fight, right? They tried to get this one started off on the right foot, and they did, like I said, grabbing the lead here. So yeah, a valiant effort ultimately at the end of the night, as we will come to find out here as I continue on through the scoring. It did not end their way, but I did like the start that they had. And yeah, Tom Wilson here, like I said, the shots already 9-2 in favor of the Caps. Tom Wilson scores on the Caps' 10th shot already of this hockey game to put his team up 1-0. And then Justin Sourdif blows up Thomas Chabot, who is like 8 feet taller than him. And then, since the Ottawa Senators were not very happy about that hit, even though it was clean, Justin Sourdif, he then answers the bell and fights Drake Batherson, who again is much bigger than him. And Justin Sourdif pretty handily wins this fight, landing several great shots on Batherson. And then Sourdif is pumping up the bench after that fight. You absolutely love to see that from this guy, from this kid, this young player who has played now, I believe this was his 42nd or 43rd game in the National Hockey League. You just absolutely love to see this from this guy. You love to see the development that is happening here. He is growing into a real player for the Washington Capitals right before our very eyes. So absolutely love this by Justin Sourdif. And then Nick Jensen, who of course is most famous for being the main piece that the Washington Capitals traded for Jakob Chychrun. Jakob Chychrun, who leads all National Hockey League defensemen in goals this season. Nick Jensen, poor bastard. He takes a high sticking penalty here after the Senators get hemmed into their own zone by an aggressive Caps forecheck. And the Caps score on the ensuing power play. Dylan Strome, 2-0 Caps. And I like this goal a lot by Dylan Strome for his 9th goal of the season here. Makes a nice move around the Ottawa Senators defender there, just inside the blue line to keep the puck in, to keep it alive, gets himself some space, and then he is able to walk right downtown and rip this thing because the Senators penalty killers so worried about Alex Ovechkin over there on the left side, as so many penalty kills in the National Hockey League are and have been for the past 21 seasons now. So yeah, you can't really blame them there. But yeah, they are hyper-focused on Ovi over there on the left side. Dylan Strome is allowed, therefore, to walk right downtown, and he rips this puck past the Senators netminder for the PPG. Caps up, baby, 2-0. Assists on that goal to Ryan Leonard and Jacob Chychrun. And that is how the first period would end, with the Caps holding a 2-0 lead. And by the way, the shots on goal at the end of the first period were 16-6 in favor of the Washington Capitals. So it was certainly, like I said, a well-earned 2-0 lead for the good guys. And that's pretty much where it all goes to shit. Second period, almost halfway through. They almost made it to the halfway point of this game before giving up a goal that, like I said, they would eventually lose this game in regulation 4-3. So to make it almost halfway through the game, being up 2-0, it was looking pretty good. But yeah, the Caps, they ultimately would run out of gas here. So they make it, like I said, almost halfway through the game, almost halfway through the second period here that we are now in, before Nick Jensen, the aforementioned Nick Jensen, he has got his second goal of the season here to cut the Caps lead to 2-1. His second goal of the season, Jacob Chychrun has got 15 already. I'm just saying. I'm sorry, Senators fans. That's just a really, really hysterically funny trade. Anyway, it's 2-1. And then with 29 seconds left in the second period, it is Ridley Gregg tying this game up for the Ottawa Senators. 2-2 hockey game. And that is how the second period would end. And yeah, with the Washington Capitals being on the second half of this brutal back-to-back with the brutal, like I said, cross-border travel overnight, you really felt, or I really felt anyway, that this was probably not going to go their way in the third period. And it didn't, although they did put up a valiant effort, like I said. First, 2 minutes and 47 seconds into the third period, David Perron, he puts the Senators up 3-2. But then the Caps, they do, like I said, a really good job to fight back and at least try to get the 2 points, right, in a tough situation. As Aliaksei Protas, he scores his 16th goal of this season already. And again, it's the forecheck, right? And then that forecheck is followed up by a pretty passing play, as it is first Tom Wilson, F1. He's the first guy in on the forecheck, steals this puck off of the Ottawa Senators. He makes a beautiful touch pass to find Justin Sourdif. And then Justin Sourdif, another beautiful pass in turn to find Aliaksei Protas in the slot. Protas rips this thing home past the Senators netminder, and we have got a 3-3 tied up hockey game. So you love to see that fight back from the Caps, like I said, right? Just a little more than 4 minutes left to play in this game on, like I said, the second half of a back-to-back brutal travel schedule. They could have just packed it in and just forgotten about this one, and just hopped on the plane home and finished celebrating New Year's with their families and their friends and all of their loved ones, right? But they did not do that. They didn't want to just pack it in and call it a night here. They fight back to tie up this game 3-3 here with, like I said, just a little over 4 minutes left to play. And yeah, a beautiful goal here for Aliaksei Protas, his 16th of the season already, like I said. So the primary assist on that one, again, like I said, Justin Sourdif, man, this kid is really becoming a player, isn't he? I know I keep saying his name, I keep bringing him up, but it's because he keeps doing great things like this. So love to see, you know, the playmaking ability starting to shine through for Justin Sourdif. He's starting to put a lot more points on the board here. And yeah, he gets the primary assist again here. Tom Wilson as well on the secondary assist. And for Aliaksei Protas, like I said, his 16th goal of the season already. He is really, really, really starting to heat up of late. He and Dylan Strome, actually. So you love to see that for a couple of guys in the Caps top six, that they are starting to really get going here and starting to produce once again, like we know they can, like we have seen at so many points in the past, right? So great to see that for sure. Aliaksei Protas, Dylan Strome, guys like this starting to heat up. But the negative here is that after doing all of that work to get this game tied up at 3 goals apiece with, like I said, just a little over 4 minutes left to play in regulation, you do all of that, right? You go to that whole extent of getting the game tied up here. A lot of work goes into that. And then just a couple of minutes later, just a couple of minutes after you have tied up the game at 3 goals apiece, you give one right back to the Ottawa Senators, right? So you give them the go-ahead goal here, 4-3, Fabian Zetterlund, with a little over 2 minutes left to play. And at this point, you really felt like it really was going to be good night here for the Washington Capitals at 4-3. Like I said, with just a little over 2 minutes left to play, but they pull the goaltender, they pull Logan Thompson for the extra attacker, and they were actually this close to tying this game up again here as they ring the iron, they ring the pipe on a pretty nice setup and a pretty wide open net. It just would not go on the quick pass there to the back door. They ring the pipe, like I said, that close, folks, to tying this game up yet again. But ultimately, it doesn't come through, and the Caps lose 4-3 in regulation. So like I said, you love the fight from these guys, right? You love to see how they are going out there, gutting it out, even when they are absolutely exhausted, still trying to gut it out and come back in this hockey game multiple times and trying their very darndest to get the 2 points, or at least get the 1 point by getting it past regulation, right? So you love to see the effort, you love to see the fight, you love to see the compete level from these guys, certainly. But what you don't love, of course, is giving up the game-winning goal with just a little over 2 minutes left to play in regulation. It's a shitty way to lose 2 standings points. There's no sugarcoating it. But we move on to the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday. All right, babes, that is going to be it for this one. As yeah, the Washington Capitals are not the only ones gutting it out here over the holidays. I too am gutting it out here on the YouTube channel through my holidays. So yeah, I could use a break here. There's a lot of games here for these guys, compacted right into such a short time frame. Obviously that that NHL scheduling this season is to do with the Olympics coming up in February. So that, of course, is a trade that I am sure that we would all make anytime and over again, right? To see NHL players being able to go and compete in the Olympics once again. I'm sure that the players would all tell you that they would gladly play this compacted schedule to be able to go to the Olympics. I, here on the YouTube channel, will gladly make a video every night if it means that the players, the NHL players that is, can head over to the Olympics in Italy in February. So really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to the last half now of the Washington Capitals season coming up. This was game number 41. We are exactly halfway through the NHL schedule for our Washington Capitals. So 41 games left to go, and then hopefully, obviously we hope, some Stanley Cup playoff games for these guys as well. So babes, thank you all so much for watching. As always, really appreciate it. Yeah, the channel has been growing substantially throughout 2025, and I hope that continues in 2026. You guys have been so great showing your support all season long here. So I really appreciate that. And again, thank you all so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, click on that subscribe button if you do enjoy the channel. If you have done so already, then, share us with a family member, a friend, a coworker, whoever it may be, any fellow Caps fan. Spread the word and let everybody know that we are doing these post-game reaction videos after every Washington Capitals game. So again, babes, appreciate all of you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. And as always, baby, as always, let's go Caps.